Hello, welcome to Anita the Pedagogue channel. Today we are looking at a prose analysis of Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist, the abridged version. So, we will look at the plot analysis and summary mainly. For our lesson objective, we will discuss the title, the setting, the point of view, the plot analysis, and summary. Let's move on at this point and look at the title. The title suggests that the story will be about a boy named Oliver Twist. The name Twist, though given by accident by the character Mrs. Mann, and I quote, "I named all the children alphabetically. The child before him was S, so I called him Swabble. Oliver is a T, so he had Twist." Oliver Twist is a satirical novel. A satire is a story that ridicules a social issue. So, Dickens uses humor and irony to unveil the lives of criminals and orphans and explore the realities of domestic violence and child labor in 19th century London. Let's move on to the setting of the story. Oliver Twist is born in a workhouse in the 1830s in England. The story is set in England. In the course of the story, Oliver Twist moves to London, where a significant part of the story unfolds over the course, totally about a decade. The point of view. The story is written in the third-person narrative point of view. The narrator uses a lot of third-person pronouns such as he, she, they, throughout the story. In addition to this, due to the nature of the narrator's ability to assume the points of view of various characters, we can say that it is written in the third person omniscient point of view. Omniscient because the narrator knows what is going on in the minds of the characters and so narrates in that way. Let's move on now to the plot analysis and summary. The exposition. The story commences with the introduction of the main character, Oliver Twist, an orphan, his birth in a workhouse of a parish in England. The story introduces one of its issues, the poor management of orphanages, where we see Mrs. Mann, the caretaker, only treating the kids well when there is going to be an inspection of the orphans. Oliver moves to another workhouse and returns to the workhouse of his birth after nearly starving with the other children. The children chose Oliver Twist to ask for more food from Mr. Lipkins. So Oliver Twist lost his mother when he was being born, and the mother was Agnes Fleming. Mr. Leaford was Oliver's father, but could not care for him because Agnes fled with the family when she realized she was pregnant. Even though Mr. Leaford gave Agnes a golden locket, when it was given to the midwife, old Sally, she kept it away, and this was later given to Mrs. Mann. Because Oliver Twist asked for more food, Mr. Bumble, an official of the workhouse, offered £5 for anyone who would like to teach Oliver Twist a trade. Mr. Gamfield showed interest in making Oliver an apprentice, but the judges disapproved due to how sad Oliver looked. Next, Oliver was handed to Mr. Sowerberry, an undertaker who buried the dead. Oliver fled from the Sowerberrys due to the maltreatment he received from them. The last straw that broke the camel's back was the beatings he received from Mrs. Sowerberry after getting into a fight with Noah Claypole. So this caused Oliver to escape, and he walked for 70 miles to London. At London, Oliver meets the artful Dodger, one of Fagin's cleverest pickpockets, who tells him to stay at the house of an old gentleman named Fagin with a number of other boys. Oliver learns that these boys are trained pickpockets. On an outing, Oliver witnessed the boys take a handkerchief from Mr. Brownlow, an elderly man, which prompted Oliver to run away in fear and confusion. The elderly man mistakes Oliver's behavior for guilt and has him arrested. However, after learning more about Oliver, Mr. Brownlow realizes his mistake and offers to take care of him at home. Oliver assumes that he is now rid of Fagin and the pickpockets, but his knowledge of their crimes causes them to seek Oliver out. Nancy, a prostitute and a mistress of one of Fagin's members, that is Bill Sykes, is sent together with Bill Sykes to take Oliver from Mr. Brownlow back to Fagin. She does so successfully, and Oliver is sent on a burglary mission to rob at Chelsea with another group member known as Toby Crockett. Oliver tries to alert the people they are robbing and is shot in the arm. He is then taken in by the family, that is the Maylies, and the people took him in and cared for him. But while he was with the Maylies, Fagin and a man named Monks plot to get him back. Rose Maylie meets with Mr. Brownlow to talk with Nancy, who has slipped away from Bill Sykes, to explain the plans made by Monks and Fagin to get Oliver back. She describes Monks and tells them when he might most easily be caught. However, by that time, Fagin and Bill Sykes have already noticed that Nancy had changed as she was giving information to the Maylies. So they set a spy, and the spy was Noah Claypole, who had already run away from Mr. and Mrs. Sowerberry together with Charlotte. So Noah Claypole goes to report to Fagin and Bill Sykes what he hears Nancy tell Mr. Brownlow and Rose. The story moves into its climax. Unfortunately for Nancy, news of her betrayal reaches Bill Sykes, and Bill Sykes beats her to death. When he realizes he will be apprehended, he tries to kill his dog for fear that the dog will help in identifying him. The dog, however, runs away. In his quest to escape from a rooftop, Bill Sykes accidentally hangs himself and dies. In the following action, Oliver is back to his birthplace, together with the Maylies, Dr. Losborn, Mr. Brownlow, Mrs. Bedwin, and a man he didn't know, that is Monks. Mr. Brownlow forced Monks to explain himself. Monks explains that his father wanted to marry Agnes Fleming, Oliver's mother, when she got pregnant with him. Because of this, Mr. Leaford, the father of Monks and Oliver, gave her, Agnes, a gold ring and a locket with her name on it, hoping to add his surname Leaford to it. But when Agnes was going to give birth to Oliver, she handed over this gold locket to old Sally the midwife, who kept it. This was later given to Mrs. Mann, the manager of the workhouse where Oliver was born. Later, Monks took this gold locket from Mrs. Mann and threw it into a river with the hope that he would erase the history of Oliver and rob him of his father's properties. Oliver was also informed by Monks that he is Oliver's half-brother, and that Oliver is actually entitled to his father's inheritance. The confessions that Monks made, Rose Maylie also learns that Oliver is her nephew, the son of her sister Agnes Fleming. The resolution: Fagin was pronounced guilty of his crimes. Rose and Harry got married in a little church. Initially, Rose and Harry couldn't get married because of the stain of Rose. Rose's father, out of shame because her sister had gotten pregnant, moved away and changed his name, later died, making her, Rose, an orphan who was later adopted by the Maylies. But Harry decided to still marry her in spite of this background Rose had. When they got married in the little church, Oliver and Monks also received their share of the property, which Mr. Brownlow ensured was shared fairly. But Monks squandered his share and returned to committing crimes, which caused him to die in a faraway jail. Charlie Bates became a respectable citizen, and Noah Claypole received a pardon from the police for helping in investigating Fagin. Mr. and Mrs. Bumble, that is Mr. Bumble and Mrs. Mann, lost their positions as heads of the workhouse. In the end, Oliver was adopted by Mr. Brownlow, who helped him have a better life. And this brings us to the end of the plot analysis and summary of Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist. Watch out for the next video, which is going to be on the literary devices, then on the themes as well.